This story comes from a time when men believed courage alone could silence evil. It happened in the ancient kingdom of Kiji, where a forest so-called swallowed whole villages. The king called for hunters to cleanse it, but what they found inside was not meant for human eyes. Listen carefully, for even now, the trees of Kiji are said to whisper when the moon is full. The kingdom of Kiji was restless. Night after night, people vanished near the forest edge, children, shepherds, even a warrior who had once boasted no blade could pierce his skin. The air grew heavier with each disappearance, as if the forest itself was leaning closer to the village. At dusk, no one dared live there. The king, an aging ruler with tired eyes, ordered the talking drums to echo across the land. Their sound carried far, reaching every corner of Kiji. Each beat called for the bravest hunters to gather at his palace. The drums were not a song of celebration but of mourning, heavy and slow, as though they already grieved for the lives that would be lost. Families whispered stories as they listened. Some said the forest was ruled by a serpent as long as 10 men, others swore it was filled with restless ancestors who demanded blood. Fear turned rumor into fire, burning in every household. The king's call was not just for warriors, it was for anyone bold enough to defy death. That night, fires burned outside every home. The people prayed to their gods for deliverance. But the silence that followed each prayer was crushing, as if the gods themselves dared not speak of the forest. Even the crickets kept quiet. The next morning, the first of the hunters began to arrive. They came from the far edges of the kingdom, each man carrying charms, weapons, and scars from other battles. Some were tall, others broad, some young, some gray-bearded. But all bore the same grim expression. The king welcomed them with kola nuts and palm wine, though no one drank with joy. Among the 30, there were names already known in songs: Ode the Silent, who once killed a lion with bare hands; Olenia the Swift, who could strike down a gazelle before it took its second leap; and Ikon, broad as a tree trunk, feared even among other warriors. Each hunter had a tale, but no tale prepared them for Kiji Forest. The palace courtyard rang with promises. "I will bring the beast's head," one shouted. "I will not return empty-handed," another vowed. But beneath the loud boast, a shadow of fear pressed close. Their eyes darted toward the distant trees, where darkness seemed to pulse like a living heart. The king gave them his blessing, but his hands trembled as he tied protective charms around their wrist. He did not believe all 30 would return. Perhaps none would. Yet still, the hunters nodded, their pride forcing their feet forward. When the drums beat again that evening, the hunters stepped in unison toward the cursed forest, their shadows stretching. The boundary of Kiji Forest was not marked by stone or shrine but by the air itself. As the hunters stepped across, a strange heaviness pressed against their skin, and the chopping of insects cut off like a snuffed candle. The forest was not silent, it was listening. The path beneath their feet seemed ordinary at first: roots, fallen leaves, the distant call of birds. But as they moved deeper, the trees grew unnaturally tall. Their branches wove together, blocking the sun. A darkness settled in, even though daylight should have remained. Some hunters muttered prayers, clutching charms around their necks. The smell changed too. Gone was the sweetness of earth after rain, instead, the air stank of iron and wet ash. Sweat broke across their foreheads, though the air was strangely cold. Each step forward was heavier, as if the forest resisted their presence. One hunter, younger than the rest, whispered, "We should turn back." His voice trembled like a boy's. Ode the Silent struck him across the mouth. "Better to die than shame the drums," he hissed. The boy said nothing more. That night, the hunters made camp. Fires were lit, though the flames burned strangely, leaning away from the forest as if afraid to burn there. The men ate little, their food tasteless in their mouths. Every crack of wood in the fire made them flinch. It was Olenia the Swift who vanished first. He had gone to fetch water from a stream barely 10 paces from camp. The hunters heard his voice once, a sharp cry, and then nothing. Spears clattered as they leapt to their feet. They rushed to the stream, but only his calabash floated on the surface, spinning slowly in silence. The hunters searched the surrounding trees with torches, shouting his name. The firelight revealed nothing but shifting shadows. Ode the Silent knelt and pressed his hand to the earth. His voice was low when he said, "He is gone." Swallowed. Fear rippled through the group. Some swore they heard footsteps behind them, though no one was there. Others claimed the trees themselves had shifted closer. They returned to camp, shaken, counting themselves now 29. The night grew longer, stretching like it would never end. Even the bravest among them kept their spears tight against their chest, afraid to close their eyes. The next day brought no comfort. The forest seemed to thicken around them, paths bending where they had walked straight the night before. Birds no longer sang. Instead, low whispers rose with the wind, words in no tone the hunters recognized. One man clutched his ears and fell to his knees, screaming that his mother was calling to him. Another swore he heard his wife's laughter, though she had been buried for 5 years. The voices were not kind, they coaxed, begged, and tempted, each whisper meant to tear at the heart. Some hunters pressed forward, shouting chants to drown the sounds. Others slowed, turning their heads as though half believing the voices. The group began to fracture, the unity of 30 men fading into fear and doubt. That evening, 3 more disappeared. One was last seen walking calmly into the trees, eyes blank, lips whispering, "Yes, I'm coming." The others vanished without sound, their places around the fire empty as if they had never existed. By the 3rd night, the hunters had become 25. On the 6th day, the forest revealed its true nature. The hunters marched for hours, yet always returned to the same clearing, bones scattered like warnings at their feet. The path behind them sealed itself with trees that had not been there moments before. Kiji Forest was alive, reshaping itself like a predator circling its prey. The air grew colder, and mist rolled low to the ground. Shapes moved in the fog, sometimes tall as men, sometimes crawling like beasts. The hunters threw spears at the shadows, but each one sank into nothing. Laughter followed, hollow and cruel, echoing through the trees. Exhaustion broke their discipline. Arguments flared, spears raised not at spirits but at each other. Ode the Silent struck down a man who threatened to run, his blade cutting deep. Blood stained the roots of a tree that seemed to drink it eagerly. As night fell, the mist thickened until even torchlight was swallowed. A scream tore through the fog, sharp and final. Then silence. When the hunters gathered again, they counted, and realized another brother was gone. That night, for the first time, they saw eyes watching from the tree line. Dozens of them. Unblinking. Waiting.
The silence broke with shouting. Fear had poisoned the camp. 2 hunters accused a third of leading them in circles. Blades flashed, and though the others pulled them apart, the damage was done. Distrust spread like fire in dry grass. By morning, men no longer walked in a single line. They kept distance, side-eye sharp, as though the real enemy might be among them. The forest had no need to strike. It watched as men unraveled themselves. Whispers came again, but this time in the voices of fellow hunters. One man swore he heard his brother's voice calling for help. Another swore he heard laughter behind him, only to find nothing but trees. Paranoia took its toll. Food was hoarded, torches were guarded, and when one hunter was found dead with no wound, the camp divided in 2, each side glaring across the fire. The forest had set its trap. Fear was now sharper than any spear. On the 3rd night, the hunters stumbled upon a river unlike any they had seen. Its waters glowed red, as though hot coals flowed instead of water. Steam rose in thick clouds, and the ground trembled with every surge. The men hesitated, their torches piling against the burning river. No bridge, no boat, only the boiling current between them and whatever lay deeper in the forest. The priest's warning echoed in their minds, "Beware the river, for it is not water that flows there, but the anger of the spirits." Some swore they saw faces in the current eyes, mouths screaming in silence. Others claimed the river whispered promises of safe passage if they would only step in. They stood there for hours, arguing until the forest made a decision for them. Something moved beneath the fiery water. Something vast. The river exploded. From the glowing current rose a monstrous shape, half serpent, half man, its body covered in molten scales, its eyes burned with white fire. And when it opened its mouth, the roar shook the trees. The hunters scattered, but there was no escape. The creature lashed its tail across the shore, throwing men into the fire-lit current. Their screams echoed as the river swallowed them. Arrows flew, spears pierced, but each strike melted against its glowing skin. The beast only grew angrier, rising taller with each blow. One hunter, brave or foolish, charged with his blade. The monster caught him in his jaws and swallowed him whole. The men froze, terror-struck. The cursed forest had revealed its guardian, and it would not let them pass alive. The hunters fought like men possessed. Arrows streaked through the smoke. Spears flashed in desperate hands. Their cries mingled with the monster's roars. One by one, they fell. Some burned, some crushed, some dragged into the boiling river. The ground became slick with ash and blood. Yet in their fury, they struck a blow. A spear of iron, blessed with chalk and blood, pierced the monster's chest. It bellowed, staggering, its molten blood spraying across the shore. But victory was costly. More than half the hunters lay dead, their bodies broken or burned. The survivors stood trembling, barely breathing. The beast sank back into the river, not slain, but wounded. Its eyes glowed from beneath the current, promising it would rise again. Those who remained pushed deeper into the cursed forest, broken and hollow. Once 30, now fewer than 10. Their faces were gaunt, their eyes haunted. Food was gone, weapons were splintered. Still, they walked, though each step felt heavier than the last. The forest had taken their strength, their hope, their trusts. Whispers tormented them. Some heard their children's cries. Others heard their own voices, begging them to turn back. One man collapsed and never rose again, his body claimed by roots that slided over him like snakes. At night, the survivors huddled close, but even together they felt alone. The forest seemed to breathe with their fear, feeding on it. One truth became clear: not all of them would live. Perhaps in the end, only one man staggered from the cursed forest. His skin was scarred, his clothes torn, his eyes hollow. He carried no weapon, only the memory of screams and shadows. He stumbled into the village, collapsing at the gates. The people gathered, whispering prayers, too afraid to touch him. When he finally spoke, his voice was a rasp. He told them of the river of fire, the beast, and the voices that wore the faces of the dead. He told them of brothers turned against each other, of lives swallowed by shadows. And when they asked what had become of the others, he only said, they walk still, but not as men. The cursed forest had claimed its hunters, and it waits still for the next drum to call the next doomed souls.